Hello and welcome back to Far Beyond the World. We will be continuing where we left off. I was assured we'd be left alone. He grumbles in annoyance, getting up and opening the door. It's Verissa. The white female rushes past Ranok and looks directly at me. Right, your father just informed us that the human will be at the feast tomorrow. Immediately, Ranok's expression sours, contrary to mine, which brightens up. I'll be able to leave the house tomorrow. I'll finally meet the tribe. Thanks for ruining my surprise. It was your idea then? She gives him a baffled look. I asked him to consider it. Emilia was getting incredibly lonely here. So your solution was to throw him to the wolves? Literally. I chuckle. It's not funny. Not every wolf hangs himself on a technicality. Ranok might have made you his ward, but there's no guarantee of your safety. No one would dare touch him. Not if we maintain our pretense, but that's going to be much harder with him out and about. Tano is on his case since the meeting. He's practically obsessed with the human. We can handle Tano. And you're willing to bet Emilio's life on it? She asks, and Ranok's ears fold back. He's clearly troubled, and that makes me uncomfortable, but I can't stay here forever. I really need to get out of this house. I'm losing my mind here. You can lose your head if anyone finds out that you can understand us. I fall silent, knowing that I don't have much of an argument to counter her. That doesn't change the fact that I cannot simply be imprisoned here much longer, and my sorrowful expression makes it perfectly clear to Ranok. We have to trust Emilio. What? I am as surprised as she is. We don't know when his memories will return. It might take a week or a month. He's not my prisoner. He's my charge. Keeping him locked up isn't right, and only fuels paranoia. The only way to calm things down and to allow him some semblance of freedom is to introduce him to the tribe. The sooner the better. The female looks at me with concern and then sighs in annoyance, while I'm incredibly touched that Ranok took our earlier conversation to heart. I hate it when you're right. But this is yet another gamble, on top of a series of bets we just made. I'm sure Emilio can handle Tano. He's a smart beastie. Besides, as my ward, he will have me at his side at all times. Fine, but don't come crying when this will spectacularly blow up in your muzzle. That's an easy condition. I'm rarely wrong about people. He shrugs, giving me a sly wink. I blush, overwhelmed by the confidence he has in me, but I'm not sure it's completely warranted. I'm slightly concerned by this Tano character. He seems to be putting pretty much all of them on edge, and I'm not certain what to make of it. Before I get to ask, I can see Verissa approach me. Anyway, I came to check your bandages. Oh, okay. I stand up, allowing her better access to my underbelly. Why are they all wet and green? She takes an idle sniff of my dressing. Is that grass? We went for a walk in the rain. A walk? She looks to the gray wolf with a slight risen brow. Then why is he all covered in your scent? I stumble and fell and Ranok. I try to help him up. Verissa sighs at our pathetic explanation. You are seriously injured. She growls at me. I'm not talking figuratively either. That stab, as well executed as it was still serious. You cannot be seen out and about, rolling in the grass with a wolf thrice your size. I mean, seriously, Ranok. He's just a dumb kid, but you should know better. The female scolds us in a rather harsh tone. It was just a bit of fun. What if someone saw you? There was no one around. It was pissing rain. Ugh, now I need to change these again. On the upside, you might have opened the wound. A little bleeding would help to sell this, as something serious and teach you a lesson you desperately need. She pulls out a new dressing from her pouch, placing it on the table along with the pinkish tincture. She kneels down and unwraps my bandages, slowly revealing the spot where Vol has stabbed me. This is odd. She mutters in surprise, inspecting the wound. It's already closed. That's good, right? The wolf shrugs, taking an idle drink of ale. It's clear that my stabbing is still making him rather uncomfortable. When was the last time you saw a cut this deep close within 2 days? She asks him, but the male is not even looking in our direction. There's no oozing, nothing. I look down and indeed all I can see is a reddish line in my side. It's already scarring. I guess Vol really knows what he's doing. I propose through a smile. No, you're healing too fast. It's almost unnatural. She pretty much confirms my suspicions. I knew there was something odd about how well I felt immediately after my fever. Despite this being a positive development, I get a nagging feeling that there is something sinister behind it. What are you suggesting? Ranok sighs in annoyance, clearly uncomfortable with our conversation. I'm not suggesting anything, but it seems that there is more to this human than meets the eye. She douses my wound with a pinkish solution, which stings a little, but at this point I'm used to it. Once she cleaned the spot, she started dressing it up again with bandages. When she's done, she stands up, taking hold of my shoulders and looking directly in my eyes. You were gravely wounded. You must act it. No one can suspect you're fine. Especially now, when we can barely even call it an injury. And no one can know you speak our language. She reiterates and I nod. I had the intention to spice up my wound from the very beginning. She nods back at me knowingly and proceeds to leave. Wait, would you care to have some rabbit stew with us? There's plenty to spare. The female looks back at me with a soft smile, then gazes at Ranok. At least someone around here has manners. What would be the point of asking? I knew you would refuse anyway. It's the thought that matters. She looks back at me with an apologetic gaze, opening the door. I can't stay. I have evening patrol duties, and my pack was left leaderless for the past few days on your account. I look confused to Ranok. She's also an alpha, just like me. Really? There are female alphas? She looks at me with surprise and chuckles, accompanied with Ranok's thundering laughter. What sexist backwater do you come from? Before I manage to respond, she leaves. Hope she didn't take it the wrong way. Don't worry. So far you seem to be more amusing than annoying to her, which is a good sign. Speaks much about you. How so? Neither she nor Vol warms up to people easily. I knew there was something special about you. I try to conceal my blush and we return to our meal. We spend the evening just chatting away, with Ranok indulging heavily in ale and talking of sparring and wrestling. He seems to really enjoy contact sports, which allows him to utilize his burly build. I don't mind his little boasts. They're clearly meant as flattery directed to me, but I just can't help myself to cool him down a bit. I bet Vol gave you a run for your money on more than one occasion. He almost chokes on his beer and throws me an angry stare. I've bested Vol many times. He reiterates and I can just stifle a chuckle. Which only means that at least a few times he's bested you. If you're such a wise guy, how about you and me have a spar and see who ends up on top? The wolf raises his brow challengingly, and I can see his tail flicker in excitement. I see what you're doing. It's a cute trap, but I'm not falling for it just yet. You really think that taking down a tiny piglet like me is going to compensate for Vol handing your ass to you? Oh, you! He slams his paws on the table and stands up slowly, his form tensed in a playful manner, as if he were about to pounce me. Nuh-uh. I shake my hands, laughing. I'm gravely wounded, remember? I point to my side, winking at the wolf. Ranok issues a subdued, seductive growl which sends tingling shivers down my spine. Lucky little piggy. He sits down with a mocking expression, taking a long swig of his tankard. I must admit, getting to know him better and being able to tease him back is extremely satisfying. I feel that we begin truly bonding, and whatever this is between us, I'm just glad to have him here, even if we're just friends. We return to idle banter, teasing each other from time to time, way into the night. I haven't had so much fun in a long while. The wolf exhales, emptying his third mug of ale, and I just laugh awkwardly. All we really did was just eat dinner and drink. What can I say? You're good company. He shrugs, approaching the barrels and refilling his tankard. I try to keep his tempo, but so far only managed 1 pint, struggling with my second. Besides, if I wanted excitement, I'd be out with my pack. Speaking of, I have to head out early tomorrow. He states, sitting down, and I look slightly concerned. Oh? My father arranged for a little competition. Ranok winks playfully. We're tasked with a hunt. There's a big black boar that has been wreaking havoc in the forest. It's to be a centerpiece at tomorrow's feast. The pack that gets the kill will have a whole week off of duty. I won't lie, that would be nice. I nod, wetting my lips, the bitter brew starting to grow on me. I know, right? A whole week with me. I bet you'll get sick of this muzzle within 2 days. I highly doubt that. I shake my head through a chuckle while the wolf takes on a more serious tone. Either way, let's not sell the hide until we snag the beast. I think Tano is cheating. How so? We were meant to leave the boar to gorge himself undisturbed, but Tano and his pack were doing a lot of tracking lately. He stifles a growl. I think he kept tabs on the beast. That's quite underhanded, but no matter what will happen, I will cheer for the best wolf. I nod towards him encouragingly. And who's the best wolf, pray tell? Why, you, of course. My wolf is the best wolf. I muster a slightly seductive smile, which causes the wolf to laugh it off nervously. In all fairness, I'm terribly excited about tomorrow, also a bit daunted. You'll do just fine. He dismisses me with a paw. I'm glad at least one of us is confident. Verissa did spook me a little. She loves to overcomplicate things. I teased her about it a lot when we were younger. Oh? I inquire, finally, tapping at the bottom of my mug. I used to joke that she was born gray, that turned white due to her constant worrying. That's mean. I chuckle, imagining the female's frustration. Anyway, I'm sure you'll woo everyone just as you wooed me. It's hard to woo anyone with your mouth shut. I almost spit out my brew. Wait, when did I woo you? In your dreams. The only one doing wooing here so far is you. The wolf smirks, clearly enjoying that his jab has landed. A woo. He made a cute imitation of a howl, and it just made my imagination run wild. Aww. Do it again, but this time for real. I demand, tapping my hands on the table. What? Give us a proper one. Howl, like true wolves do. My request clearly put him on the spot, and he fidgets uncomfortably. I shouldn't. Why not? Someone might hear. So, don't tell me that you're not allowed to howl. Of course not. The male scoffs at me, but his expression quickly turns back into a troubled one. But they aren't meaningless sounds, they're messages. You have to have something to howl about. Oh. I mumble, not sure if I understand him correctly. Are you telling me that you have nothing you'd like to howl about? I've got plenty. He scoffs again, this time with a determined look, and I decide to push my luck. Then I'd love to hear you howl. The wolf hesitates, and I'm almost inclined to drop it, not wanting to force him, but a flicker of his tail indicates that he actually wants to do it. Please? Ugh, fine. You're such a pup. He shakes his head and takes a deep inhale. I rest my elbows on the table, supporting my chin in my palms as I watch his torso expand. Ranok tilts his head back, with his nose pointed to the ceiling. His muzzle puckers and a melodic sound resonates from deep within his throat. A sentimental feeling washes over me when I hear his voice reverberate across the glass windows. The howl echoes throughout the kitchen in a high-pitched tone, filled with joy and happiness. He's sending a message of comfort and bliss to everyone around him, and I swear I can hear it say, "I'm the luckiest wolf alive." I'm extremely touched, and I can feel the hair on the back of my neck rise in response. I'm just sitting here looking at him, starry-eyed. Wow, that was utterly beautiful. I exhale, giving him a round of applause. Seeing he took my breath away, the wolf smiles awkwardly. Well, it was a pretty good day. He nods and I raise my mug. I'll drink to that. We clink our tankards and cheer. We continue chatting and drinking for a while longer, both teasing each other to draw for another fit of laughter. Eventually, we get drowsy enough to head off to bed. If Ranok is to have any chance at the hunt, he needs to be rested. I puff of the pillow as he drops onto the mattress, patting a spot beside him. I'm quite surprised by the gesture, but I smile and oblige. The wolf quickly pulls me into a tight embrace, snuggling deep into his chest. I think he's doing it because he's quite tipsy, but I don't mind. I grew attached to his intimacy, and if a drink allows him more freedom of expression, who am I to judge? I drift off in my furry cradle within moments, hoping nothing will disturb my sleep. The dream I have is nothing short of a nightmare. Once again, I'm suspended in darkness, my body fading into the oblivion. Why is this happening to me? My mind is bombarded by a maddening voice, thousands of whispers speaking as one. I've heard them before. Fail. I struggle at the first attack breaking, but the choice of words steals my resolve. I won't fail. I won't give you the satisfaction. All hope. I want to scream in agony, but without a body, I am forced to endure this silence. Why do you keep torturing me like this? Fade. Again, I feel myself slipping away at the command. Each whisper feels like a seed of madness planted inside my mind. The entity toys with me, and I cannot do anything but to surrender myself. I fade just as I'm told to do so, before any more agony pushes me beyond the breaking point. I wake up with a rattled breath, looking around the room in panic. It's midday and I'm alone, with no sign of the wolf, his side of the bed already cold. Ranok has clearly left on his morning hunt, and I feel guilty for not seeing him off. This guilt doesn't last long, however, as I realize why I overslept. I was stuck in the void again, and with this realization, everything comes back to me like a tidal wave. I've been there before, twice in fact, each time bombarded by a maddening voice. I think I was suppressing those dreams, as if subconsciously trying to push them out of existence, but something changed tonight. I was challenged, an entity demanded my submission. All hope fades, the voice said to my refusal, that much I remember. As ominous as it seems, I'm still not quite sure if it isn't just all in my head. However, something about tonight made it feel very much real. I'm not sure if I'm getting used to the sensation of complete abandon or the agony, but I can recollect glimpses of that horrible place. If one can even call it a place, it feels much like a state of being devoid of everything, tethering on the edge of nothingness. Just the sheer thought of it fills me with great unease. Losing my memory and being stranded in this strange world is one thing, but hearing voices is another. For a moment I consider if I should actually talk to either Verissa or Ranok about this, But then again, hearing voices would probably be as insane to them as it sounds. It's enough that they view me as strange and a liability. The last thing I want is for them to consider me mad. I take a deep breath and sit up, stretching my hands back to support myself. I need to relax and clear my mind, otherwise I will have another weird episode. As I recline to take a second long exhale, my hand touches something odd on Ranok's pillow. My gaze drifts down and I can see a single dandelion lying where his head would have been. I pick up the flower, touching its delicate bud, unable to contain a smile. I almost burst into tears, but managed to rein myself in. With this one gesture, Ranok has banished all the turmoil that occupied my mind. A yellow flower, to contend with the gray skies that hung above my head. Voices and night terrors will have to wait. Today is too important to allow any of my mental issues to spill over. I need to keep myself alert and sharp, without any nonsensical distractions. Yet again, the wolf has proven to be my anchor, to ground me. I jump off the bed and rush towards the kitchen, wondering if there's any water for me to wash up. I bring the flower with me, placing it in the table. There I find a small bread roll next to a wooden bowl filled with what is left from our stew. I quickly notice the flint and fire striker lying next to it, almost as if Ranok is suggesting I heat up my food when I wake up. Again, I feel choked up. No one has ever been this considerate towards me. Damn it, Wolf. You make it really hard not to fall for you. I reluctantly gaze towards the hearth and realize that attempting another fire would only fuel my frustration. Why ruin such a nice day with my inabilities? Instead, I just sit down and dig in. Even at room temperature, the stew is utterly delicious, and the crusty, freshly baked bun is just pushing the meal over the edge. I sigh with satisfaction, licking the bowl clean. My appetite is slowly increasing, and I take it as a good sign. I approach the cupboard to find fresh water left for me along with the birch twig. Ranok thought of everything. I quickly wash up, wanting to look my best if we are to attend the feast. I take great care in cleaning my skin with ash, as I did before. I even wash my hair, as it again began to clump together in unattractive streaks. Once my teeth are cleaned and I feel fresh and ready, I simply sit back down on the table, waiting for the wolf. The time passes by with me having very little to do, other than attempting another boring read. Nah, I'd rather doze off than do that. I grab the dandelion and return to the bed, resting my head on the pillows and toying idly with the flower. Such a little thing, a weed as it's called, yet it steeled my resolve against the shadows. I haven't felt this calm since I woke up in this room for the first time. It almost feels as if nothing can break me now. But I'd rather not press my luck with a protracted solitude. Thankfully, it doesn't take long before the door opens and my wolf enters the cabin. I rush to the kitchen to greet him. So, how'd it go? Who got the boar? I ask with a wide smile on my face. We almost had it, but Vol came out of fucking nowhere. The wolf huffs in annoyance, plopping onto a chair. I bring him a tankard filled with ale, knowing full well he likes to unwind with it. Aw, sorry. But hey, at least it wasn't Tano, eh? I think even Tano getting the kill would have been better. Less show-offy. What did Vol do? I scoff in amusement. Crazy bastard wrestled the beast's bare paw, and suddenly blood and guts flew everywhere. Ranok continues his rant, taking an idle sip while I sit down next to him. Both packs stood there, almost certain the boar gutted him, but it was the other way around. He finished him off with a dagger. The very same he used on you. He sneers, clearly conveying it was almost a personal insult to him. I guess if I were to take on a boar, a dagger would not be my first weapon of choice, but in all fairness, Vol doesn't seem like he needs a weapon at all. An image of him eviscerating a huge boar with that knife makes me cringe a little and I rub my dressing. I guess he really was being gentle with me. But at least you seem to have had a better day. First time I didn't catch you crying. Well, I had a little help. I swayed the dandelion in my hand. How did that get here? I feign surprise, but his tail swinging betrays him. I guess we'll never know. I wink at him, placing the flower down. The wolf blushes, looking to the side and taking a nervous gulp of his drink. I almost want to laugh at how unaccustomed he is with others playing his game. I guess he just thought that he would always be the solo player. Ranok takes another long swig and puts the tankard back on the table. It's almost as if he was looking for courage at the bottom of his mug. Right, we better head out. The feast will start soon. Just stick to me and avoid others as much as possible. I nod and we get ready to depart when a sudden thought occurs to me. I'm almost naked. I really don't feel comfortable going out in just a loincloth. I mutter, looking around for anything I could put on. Well, don't wrap yourself in bedding. That makes you look like a savage. I grimace. Where I come from, walking around in your underwear is definitely inappropriate. Here, just put that on. It'll cover you nicely. He passes me one of his spare cloaks. I take a discreet sniff, feeling his scent all over it. It's going to be quite comfortable at the feast, but not really what I had in mind. I put it on, closing the clip on my right side and looking down at myself with an immediate frown. I look like a fucking hobbit. I mutter, twinkling my toes. A what? I just wave him away, not keen to elaborate. I really need to get some clothes. I'm showing too much skin. I look at him with a cheeky smile, not really meaning to imply anything, but rather force him to do something about my predicament. Or is that how you like your wards? The wolf throws me a surprised gaze, almost choking at the remark. Don't be absurd, he protests in panic. Try to figure something out tomorrow, but there's no time for that today. Well, I'll hold you to it. I pick up the dandelion and put it on the pin of my cloak. What are you doing? I'm taking it with me. It's a good luck charm. He seems rather troubled by the idea. I mean, not every day a random flower appears out of nowhere on a pillow next to me. I open the door, letting him know that this is non-negotiable. Stepping out of the front is really an experience in its own right. Not only I no longer feel like a dirty secret, but the porch that greets me is a pleasant surprise. I gaze to the right and find a chair with a small table beside it. Immediately, I imagine how we could spend our future evenings here, simply unwinding. With days getting warmer, having a drink outside and watching the moonrise while listening to the chirping of crickets sounds almost dreamy. Especially with how seductive and sheltered this location seems to be. I have expected there to be other houses nearby, but it turns out Ranok's cottage is literally on the outskirts of the village. I must say, you do like your privacy. I look to the wolf as he steps outside. Who doesn't? He takes the lead and walks down the steps, extending his paw in a gentlemanly fashion. Here, Tiny, let me help you. I can manage. I mutter, playfully, refusing to take his paw. I know his tricks. Immediately, my feet wavers and I stumble, falling into the wolf's arms. My face is buried into his chest fluff as I gaze up awkwardly at his laughing muzzle. I built this place, remember? The step is off level. I was meant to fix it, but I never really had the time. He smirks coyly, and I think I just played right into his trap. I shake my head teasingly and push myself away. As I take a few steps, I look around in a slight confusion. Odd. This place is quite secluded, but I could swear I saw the light outside the window and I heard talk and laughter. I stop and look back at him with a determined expression. It was the very first night when you left me alone. Oh yeah, we have sentries posted at the edges of the village. He points to a small clearing in the distance. They sometimes camp not far from here. How did you sneak me past them? Vol relieved them of their duty. You can't question an alpha. Especially Vol. Yeah. Either way, it's a lovely spot. No wonder you built your house here. It is pretty, all right. But in all fairness, I have chosen it for a different reason. Oh? I smile as we walk arm in arm. It used to be a spot where I had picnics with my mother. Last time I saw her was right here. He points to his house, and I feel slightly saddened by the revelation. This place always made me feel safe, you know? Yeah. I smile awkwardly, knowing full well what he means. Safe haven is something everyone needs, no matter what form it takes. Knowing how truly dear this house is to him, I feel even safer in it than ever before. But as comforting as that sentiment is, a troubling thought occurs to me. He talks about his mother in past tense. What happened to her? I ask reluctantly. I don't know. The wolf shrugs, trying to sound indifferent, but a slight slump in his posture shows defeat. She was from another tribe. We meet, we mate, and that's it. The firstborn pups always stay with their fathers. What about mothers? They get to keep the secondary litters. But kids need their mothers, don't they? He stops, taking a deep breath and not regarding me. The birth mother stays only until the pup is weaned. Then the tribe's den mother takes over. Either way, I was a lucky one. My mother remained a little while longer than appropriate. He mutters in a mix of resignation and mild frustration. It's clear he doesn't want to talk about this, but I have to know one more thing. When was the last time you saw her? I was maybe 5 or 6. Honestly, I can barely remember her. I can hear a clear hint of longing in his voice, and it makes my heart sink. Their way of life is truly horrifying, and it's not just only my bias. Ranok's hurt is plain to see, but I decide to drop the issue. No point opening up old wounds I cannot heal. I mean, she sounds wonderful. I bet she would be proud of the wolf you've become. He throws me a shocked gaze, and then smiles softly. For whatever reason, he places great stock in my comment, and despite how heavy the conversation got, his mood lifts immediately, cemented by his wagging tail. Yeah, I certainly hope so. I smile back, my admiration for him growing with each day further than I expected possible. Despite how much hardship he had to go through, Ranok turned up an upstanding, compassionate being. In fairness, any parent would be proud to call him their son. We walk in silence for a while, slowly entering the village proper. As we're getting closer to the other wolves, I decide to remain quiet and instead just take in the sights. The houses look rather simple. I wouldn't call them primitive, but they aren't elaborate either. I guess they serve their purpose, but it does feel as if I went back in time. However, despite it all, the old-timey aesthetic is actually heartwarming. On the whole, the village looks quite wholesome. Ranok! A brown, cheerful wolf calls out from his doorway, stepping out onto the path. Vitr! So, this is the other cane you saved during your big night. My, what a find. The male comes closer, but Ranok's laid-back attitude allows me to remain calm despite the stranger being thrice my size. Let me have a look at ya. His paw grabs my chin crudely, and he rotates my head in both directions as if inspecting livestock. Well, well, they are quite something, aren't they? A bit on the small side, though. The wolf snorts, causing Ranok to smile awkwardly. Yeah. Considering the legends, you'd expect them to be somewhat more intimidating. This one is rather disarming. I ignore the jabs. I got used to them by now. Kalen is my second name at this point. As he continues to inspect me, I myself decide to have a closer look at him. He is very well built, although he has a bit of a muscle gut. I can see a scar on his right side of his abdomen. It's clearly an old stab wound, a mirror image of my very own. I wonder if mine will scar like that. Looks kinda hot. Eventually, he sates his curiosity and turns back to face Ranok. By the way, I'm glad to know that you can stand up for yourself. Hmm? You sent my little boy into the dirt like the silly puppy is. About time the fool learned his place. I almost throw a confused gaze to Ranok, but managed to rein myself in. Remember, you don't understand them, Emilio. Didn't mean to, we were just sparring. Ranok winces uncomfortably. The bubbly male elbows him teasingly. Don't be coy with me. I'm sure you've enjoyed that little payback for the way he roughed you up. It wasn't like that. Ranok continues his half-hearted protests, but the brown male pays him no mind. Ambushing one's alpha in their own den. Disgraceful. Wait, is he the father of one of the guards? Did Ranok rough them up? Had he not been still licking his bruises, I'd give him a few of my own making to oil up his gears. They were only following orders. I discreetly look to Ranok, and although he's clearly uncomfortable at the insinuation, I can see his tail give idle flicks of content. Perhaps he was after payback, even subconsciously. A wise wolf has a mind of his own. Varrock often acts before thinking. Hot-headed chief is one thing, but being a fool who blindly follows him off a cliff is another. Well, I have to agree. I won't comment on that. Ranok mutters nervously while the other wolf erupts in laughter, patting him hard on the back. And that's what I like about you, boy. You never speak ill of your old man, even if at times he deserves it. That's a true wolf. Unlike that mousy little gnat of mine, I swear he was whining like a bitch in heat the whole day. Sounds like I might have overdone it a little. Considering how territorial he gets around me, and that my life was put on the line, yeah, he might have. I struggled to contain a blush. Nonsense! Let it be a lesson learned. Never disrespect your alpha. He's the one in charge of your life. If you cannot trust him with it, you're either a fool or in the wrong pack. Vithra huffs as he makes his point. I would never dismiss Dreyer from my pack. He's a good fit. Which makes him a fool. And don't worry, I also had a little talking with your old man as well, to put him straight. I blink. Making a scene like that, unbecoming. You deserve better. Vithra. No. He needs to hear it, and deep down he already knew it. You are to be his heir, Ranok. An heir. The brown wolf speaks sternly, reiterating the sentence so that the meaning can truly sink in. How can he expect us to entrust the future of our people into your paws when he himself does not trust your judgment? He won't admit it to your muzzle, but he regretted that little spectacle. Ranok's saddened expression turns into a slight smile, full of gratitude. I guess Vithra is almost like a secondary father figure to him, one that's always fighting his corner. It's quite touching. And it's nice to know that the chief is less rigid than he appears to be. Knowing that he allows someone to call him out on his mistakes changes my perspective of the old male. Anyway, enough of that. Vithra waves his paw. I've heard about the hunt, lad. I lost a barrel of ale because of you. The wolf chuckles and Ranok grimaces. I told you not to take that wager. At least Dreyer didn't win either. Last thing my pup needs is a barrel of ale to drown his beaten ass in. He lets out another bout of laughter. But damn that mad wolf, just a dagger? Clear maniac. Reminds me of me in my youth. I try not to smile, clear in agreement about the epithets bestowed on vulgar. Keeping my dumbfounded facade gets harder the more personal the conversation gets, so I decide to divert my attention from it. I simply let them talk about the hunt some more as I distract myself with the display outside of Vithra's house. He has a small stall with different pastries lying about on a metal trays. Some are speckled with creams, some with fruit. A strawberry tart looks extremely delicious. Ha! The human pup has a sweet tooth. Reminds me of someone I know. The wolf winks to Ranok and approaches me. He picks one of the trays and pushes it towards my face. Here! I look him up with a slight confusion. I'm not sure what to do. Ranok was quite adamant I should avoid the other wolves. Take whichever you like. I've been baking them with you in mind. He doesn't understand. My wolf tries to aid me, and I look back at him with worry. I know, but I can see that he's not a dumb beast either, eh? The male ruffles my hair, nodding towards the tray, and I simply smile in gratitude. My gluttony takes the best of me. I cannot resist such wonderful baked goods. I pick up the tart, which was seducing me with its strawberry delight, and I bite it. How much do I owe you? Ranok, do not offend me, my boy. It's on the house. It's been a long time since I got to bake anything. My face lights up at the delicious jam melting in my mouth. Seeing the poor sod smile is payment enough. I hope he enjoyed the bread. Oh, yes, he seemed very much pleased by it. I look at them with slight surprise. So this is where Ranok got it from. Well, it was an old Tigeri recipe. Was nice to dust it off again. Right, you better head off. Your father detests tardiness. When in a sour mood, Varrock makes for a poor drinking companion. He laughs bombastically, and I cannot help but smile. I just wanted a quick look at the little freak, before he'll get swarmed by the onlookers at the feast. I'll join later, once I close down the shop. Thank you. Ranok nods and waves at me to join his side as we walk towards the center of the village. Once the other wolf is out of sight, I move slightly closer to him. He seemed nice. I mumble idly, enjoying my treat. He is, but don't let that fool you. Vithra is my father's childhood friend. He's been nothing but kind to me ever since I was a pup, but by no means he's indicative of the tribe's mood. I nod. I'll stay on my guard. Good. I suspect that the rest of today's interactions won't be as pleasant. Ranok, I'm already stressed enough as it is. Sorry, don't mind me. So far you're doing great. He winks at me reassuringly, but I'm completely lost in my dessert. Considering we're going to a feast, it's a bit odd to start with sweets, but by the moon, is this tart worth it? The spring strawberries are actually quite sour, and they clash perfectly with the straight comfiture beneath them. It's so good. I exhale quietly between each bite. I'm glad you like it. I had a hunch you would. Pastries aren't our kind of treats. They're typical of Tigerian, though. Or more specifically, they're upper classes. I roll my eyes, sighing heavily. Again, he implies that I'm some long-lost tiger nobility. How would that even work? Luckily for us, Vitri spent several years of his life as an envoy in Strandbard. He's quite versed in the Tigeri ways. That would explain why he was friendly and courteous, both traits seemingly lost on the Wolven tribes. Who knows? He might help us get some of your memories back. I doubt it, but I'm not going to dim Ranok's hope. I mean, who knows, maybe he will help. If I get to eat more of his pastries, we all win regardless of the end result. As we enter the clearing around which the village is centered, I immediately spot a large white stone standing upright. It reflects the light of the sunset, seemingly glowing on its own accord. I stop in my tracks, looking to Ranok with a risen brow, and the wolf smiles back in understanding. It's our tribe's menhir. It was erected by the very first wolves who settled here thousands of years ago. Thousands of years ago? It almost sounds ridiculous. As to my reckoning, sapient wolves aren't even a week-old state of affairs. But I cannot dwell on that for long, as my attention is immediately drawn to a small, walled-up depression which contains what looks like 2 prison cells. They are carved into the side of an incline which leads to the upper side of the settlement. Those are the stockades. I nod, finishing the tart. Now that I realize what my alternate accommodations would have looked like, being cooped up in the cottage doesn't seem all that bad. I'd rather stay where I'm currently being held, thank you very much. Don't worry, I'll never let them lock you up like some sort of criminal. Yeah, that I can believe. However, there being 2 cells, it would be incredibly hard for him to do anything if he were to end up in the other one. Incarceration seems to be a form of spectacle for this community, prison in plain view and above a central stage to issue judgment and punishment. A fitting focal point for this harsh, militarized society, entertainment for the masses, and a warning to those who would even consider stepping out of line. It really makes the wholesome image of the village turn on its head. My stomach churns a little, and I wonder if it's the tart or the dread I feel looking at the stockades. Don't pay it any mind. Ranok pulls me closer, almost as if trying to reassure me. Likely he picked up on my sudden mood shift. And in any other situation, I would find it endearing. However, it keeps reminding me that he simply is a walking lie detector. His animalistic abilities to read me like an open book entice me as much as they freak me out. However, I am quickly distracted by the most unexpected of sights. Wait, is that Vol? I almost gasp when I notice a familiar black wolf behind a counter of what looks like the village meat shop. Yep, that's his butchery all right. We approach the building slowly, drawing the attention of our friend. Piglet. The male nods towards me, giving Ranok a challenging smirk. What? Almost begs the question, which one is taking which for a walk? He snorts and I cannot help but chuckle. Haha, very funny. It is to me. Vol winks at me and reaches for a large joint suspended from a hook. You're not coming? Have to finish here first. The male mutters as he places what I assume is a cow's hind leg on the counter. I shudder slightly as the wolf chops heavily at it, splitting it with his massive cleaver and smiling toothily at my squeamish reaction. I'll join you there in a bit. After all, gotta make sure you won't choke on my boar. In the corner of my eye, I can see a wolf warrior stop in his tracks, standing some distance from us, staring at me intently. He seems completely enthralled by my appearance, and it feels as if he's undressing me with his gaze. Not that there is much to take off, which makes me extremely self-aware of my near nakedness. We're lucky Dalaran isn't here. That would have easily descended into a shit show. He hasn't returned yet? Ranok's voice betrays a hint of concern. Nope. Vol sighs uncomfortably. Neither have Regera, but I wouldn't bring it up at the table if I were you. He slams his cleaver at the meat again, easily cutting off another slab and causing my heart to skip a beat. Your father is already pretty testy on account of that walking pork chop. The wolf points at me with a bloody blade and I cannot help but gulp loudly. I turn my face away, noticing the stranger still standing there. His penetrating stare continues to cause me discomfort, and I pull my cloak tighter to shield as much of my skin from view as possible. This finally draws Vol's attention, and he immediately darts his gaze from me to the wolf behind us. What are you looking at? Nothing, just lost in my thoughts. The warrior bursts out, thrown off as he was called out so blatantly. Then hit the bricks before you lose your teeth as well. The black male growls nastily, his fangs on full display. This causes the intruder to scramble in panic, rushing off into the distance as if chased by a wild beast. Vol. He'll have enough gawking at the feast. He doesn't need any now. Although, he might need to steel his resolve a little. Once again, Vol points to me with his cleaver. Especially with Tano around. His red irises center on me, as if piercing right through my flesh, and I feel naked once again. Well, it is what it is. Ranok steps in and pushes the cleaver away from my face. I'm sure by the end of the night, we'll have something to laugh or curse about. He slams his cleaver into the meat, causing another sickening squelch, followed by the cracking of bone. We prey on weakness, and this one is practically smelling of fear. And just like that, my heart rate spikes, causing Ranok's ears to twitch. You know, you never fail to freak him out. That's very helpful. Ranok subdues this slight growl of annoyance. Especially now. Vol sighs, rolling his eyes. I freak him out? This little piglet nearly pissed himself just because of an onlooker. If he cannot handle a little teasing, how he'll manage. All he needs is a little encouragement. Is that too much to ask? The Grey Wolf states sternly, giving him an aggravated look. Bull takes a deep breath and looks back at me with a softer expression. It almost looks like he's about to apologize, but instead he simply sighs. Be it on your head. He waves us away and we're about to leave when he gives me one of his kinder gazes. Just don't get killed, Piglet. If I haven't got to do it, at least don't give the pleasure to some second-rate wolves. And he ruined it, as he always does. I just roll my eyes and allow Ranok to lead me away. I guess that's as good as you're gonna get from him. Don't mind him, you'll do great. Ranok reassures me, most likely acting on my shifting moods. I'm not aided by the fact that there are many hostile eyes focusing on me the deeper into the village we get. Relax, the feast grounds are just on the other side, near the forest's edge. He smiles as we walk through the square and follow a path between the houses towards the woods. So I guess we're about to go into the feast, and we just met what would be considered Ranok's other father. And he looks kind of familiar. I'm not gonna say why. And it's nice that he likes to bake. I like a baker. And yeah. What do you think is gonna happen at the feast? Anyways, thank you all for watching / listening. If you would like to play Far Beyond the World yourself, there will be a link down in the description. If you would like to support the creator, there will be a link down in the description for their Patreon. If you would like to follow the creator, there will be a link down for their Twitter. And I guess I will see you guys next time.